At the center of the chamber, a massive hollow screen flared to life, displaying the imposing form of General Krallon, a high-ranking representative of the Drazat Dominion. Krallon's scaled, emerald-green face filled the screen, eyes cold and unwavering. His features were angular, with a row of sharpened ridges along his brow, a mark of his high status in Drazat society. His voice, low and resonant, carried a tone of warning as he addressed the assembled council. "Council members of the galaxy," he began, his gaze sweeping over the silent chamber. "I come to you with a warning that concerns the inhabitants of a small blue planet in the Sol system. They call it Earth, and its people, humans. What I share now, I share for the security of all our worlds." A murmur swept through the council, and representatives exchanged uneasy glances. Humans were hardly ever discussed in the council. In the grand scheme of the galaxy, they were an isolated species mostly unknown, residing on an unremarkable world with no advanced space travel capabilities. But here was Krallon, a general of the fearsome Drazat, warning of Earth as though it posed a genuine threat. "We have observed the species," Krallon continued, his voice heavy. "Our researchers and scouts have studied their planet and their people from afar. They live on a world as dangerous as it is beautiful. Volcanic eruptions, seismic quakes, and storms that sweep across continents. And yet, humans have not only survived on this hostile world, but have thrived." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle over the council. A council member from the Talrak Consortium, a silver-skinned diplomat named Orshan, raised his hand, his expression skeptical. "With all due respect, General Krallon, many species have survived hostile environments. What makes these humans different?" Krallon's gaze fixed on Orshan, and his voice took on a darker tone. "What makes them different, councilman, is not merely their survival. It is their tenacity, their relentless adaptability, and their unwavering willingness to fight to the death for their survival. The humans do not simply evade danger. They confront it head-on, often with ingenuity and sheer force of will." The room grew silent as Krallon described incidents the scouts had observed on Earth. Wildfires blazing across forests and humans forming lines to combat the flames, risking their own lives to protect others. Earthquakes tearing cities apart, and humans working tirelessly through the rubble to save strangers. Krallon's account shifted to more disturbing examples. Humans hunting deadly predators, not for sustenance but for the thrill and for control over their environment. And in times of war, they showed an almost unfathomable determination, pushing beyond what many species would consider their breaking point. "Their entire species," Krallon said, "has evolved through conflict and hardship. They know no peace, only the eye of the storm between struggles. And while we have achieved evolution through cooperation and technological mastery, they have carved out their existence through defiance and raw survival instincts. It has bred a kind of resilience that should give us all pause." A wave of unease settled over the chamber. Council members, accustomed to advanced civilizations living in harmony, struggled to imagine a species that embraced such a brutal path to progress. A representative from the Kelphi Alliance, a tall, slim figure with translucent skin that shimmered in the light, spoke up. "General Krallon," he said cautiously, "surely you are not suggesting that these humans pose a credible threat to the galaxy? They have no known spacefaring capabilities, no fleets, no weaponry beyond their atmosphere. They are contained." Krallon's eyes narrowed, and a hint of frustration entered his voice. "Contained? Perhaps, but it would be unwise to underestimate them. The human capacity for growth is astonishing. They are learning at a rapid rate, and I assure you, they will soon reach for the stars. Their resilience in adversity could make them either formidable allies or unstoppable foes." As the words settled over the council, a sense of urgency began to take root. The possibility of humanity rising to galactic prominence, bearing instincts forged in relentless struggle, was a future few had considered. And yet, here was Krallon, a warrior by nature, delivering a solemn warning about a species not yet touched by galactic civilization. "Council members," Krallon concluded, his voice grave. I urge you to take this seriously. Humanity may be isolated now, but if left unchecked, they could evolve into something this galaxy is unprepared to face. We must consider our approach carefully and choose wisely. For if we ignore this warning, we may find ourselves confronting an adversary that will stop at nothing to survive. Silence fell over the chamber. Each representative grappled with Krallon's words, some pondering the wisdom of restraint, others calculating the risks of inaction. The council was faced with a choice that would shape the galaxy's future. Either to watch and wait, hoping humanity would evolve peacefully, or to take preemptive measures against a species still ignorant of the galaxy beyond their skies. With a final solemn gaze, Krallon's image faded from the holoscreen, leaving the council members alone in a tense, contemplative silence. The decision that lay before them was monumental. They could ignore this warning or act upon it, setting a course that would forever alter humanity's fate. In the Galactic Council chamber, tension remained high as council members processed General Krallon's warnings. The Drazatha's revelation of humanity's resilience had stirred a sense of unease, but not all members were convinced. To many, humanity was still just another species on a small, distant planet, a planet with no fleets, no interstellar alliances, and no known presence beyond its atmosphere. Skepticism lingered. Seated opposite the holoscreen was Orshan, the silver-skinned Talrak representative who had voiced his doubts earlier. He leaned forward, his silvery eyes narrowed in cautious curiosity. General Krallon, he called, addressing the now-restored holographic figure of the Drazath. You have described humanity's stubborn resolve, their inclination to face peril rather than evade it. But stubbornness alone doesn't make them a threat. How do we know these humans are capable of surviving on our scale? Krallon's gaze hardened, and he lifted a clawed hand, gesturing with the practiced precision of a seasoned orator. You misunderstand Councilman Orshan, he replied, his tone unwavering. It is not merely their stubbornness, but their relentless ingenuity in the face of annihilation. Their world, Earth, is both a training ground and a crucible, where only the strong or the clever survive. And humans possess both. At Krallon's command, the holoscreen shifted, displaying scenes captured by Drazath scouts stationed in Earth orbit. The first image showed a sprawling human city, half destroyed by a natural disaster, a city crumbling from the impact of an earthquake. Despite the chaos, humans were moving through the rubble, forming chains to clear debris and rescue survivors. Some were badly injured, yet they pressed on, coordinating with a fierce determination. Krallon narrated, his voice steady but ominous. Observe, he said. This is a city known as San Francisco, struck by a violent tremor. In such conditions, many species would wait for organized response units. Humans, however, act immediately, pooling their knowledge and risking their lives for strangers. Several council members exchanged glances. To them, such action was reckless, an instinct bordering on self-destructive. The Kelphi representative, a slender, opalescent figure named Marith, spoke up. Perhaps they are simply driven by desperation, she suggested, her voice lilting yet doubtful. One cannot extrapolate their abilities based on isolated acts of survival. Krallon shook his head, his expression remaining stern. Then allow me to show you more. The screen shifted again, this time displaying footage from Earth's wilderness. Towering mountains, dense forests, and sweeping deserts flashed by, each scene depicting humans engaging with Earth's most dangerous predators. In one clip, humans were shown hunting a massive bear, armed only with crude weapons and their wits. They moved in coordinated formations, communicating with hand signals and silent gestures, their resolve unshaken even in the face of the formidable beast. This is no act of desperation, Krallon explained, his voice low. Humanity has transformed Earth's predators into prey. They not only defend themselves, but actively seek out the strongest challenges, facing them down with courage and precision. They understand their weaknesses, yet exploit their strengths to overcome even the most lethal foes. A ripple of astonishment spread through the chamber as the footage continued. Humans, adapting their strategies and crafting traps, exhibited a relentless adaptability that some council members found unsettling. Marith shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her skepticism wavering as she took in the displays of calculated aggression and resourcefulness. And that is not all, Kralon continued, his eyes narrowing. Humanity has also mastered the art of war. For centuries, they have waged conflicts among themselves, constantly refining their weapons and strategies. They have learned to fight in every condition imaginable, across deserts, mountains, frozen tundras, and even oceans. Their capacity to innovate under fire is unparalleled. At his words, the screen now showed footage of human military exercises, ranging from vast tank formations rumbling over plains to precision airstrikes coordinated with ground movements. Rows of soldiers marched in disciplined formations, adapting swiftly to every change in terrain and weather. Kralon emphasized the magnitude of their discipline and the technology they wielded with lethal efficiency. Orshan frowned, his earlier doubt now visibly shaken. General Kralon, are you suggesting that we are witnessing a species with tactical expertise rivaling that of any other in the galaxy? Kralon nodded, his expression grim. That is precisely what I am suggesting. Humans have an instinctive grasp of strategy and are willing to sacrifice greatly to achieve victory. To them, no price is too high if it means survival. They do not seek peace as we do, nor do they shun conflict. Instead, they have made war a science and survival a form of art. The room fell silent, the weight of Kralon's words sinking in. Some council members appeared visibly disturbed, others contemplative. Marith looked down, her translucent skin shifting to a shade of deep blue, a sign of apprehension among the Kelphi. She, like the others, was beginning to understand the implications. A species with both the will to survive and the skill to conquer was one that could not be ignored. Kralon glanced around the chamber, his eyes meeting those of each council member with a steely intensity. We are at a crossroads, he concluded. This is no primitive race. It is a species that will reach for the stars one way or another. We must choose. Either engage with them and attempt to guide their progress, or prepare ourselves for the day they look outward and see us not as allies, but as potential adversaries. The hollow screen faded, and Kralon's image blinked out, leaving the council in an uneasy silence once again. The doubts that had lingered at the start of the session had given way to a mixture of apprehension and fear. Some members cast anxious glances at each other, silently pondering the decision that lay before them. The council's directive was clear: to secure peace and stability throughout the galaxy. But now, the presence of humanity threatened to tip that balance. Whether the council chose to take action or wait and observe, they could no longer ignore Earth's inhabitants. Humanity, forged in hardship and refined by conflict, was on the verge of becoming a force that no one could predict or control. Silence gripped the galactic council chamber as Kralon's hologram disappeared, leaving the council members to grapple with his ominous words. The vast, arched ceiling seemed to press down upon them, casting the assembly in a shadow that matched the gravity of their dilemma. Around the circular seating, the tension was palpable, and the murmurs of uncertainty had transformed into a low hum of concern. Some representatives exchanged wary glances, while others sat in pensive silence. Councilman Orshan, silver-skinned and visibly agitated, broke the silence. Are we seriously considering humans as a threat worthy of council action? They are still confined to a single planet, struggling to keep up with each other. How could they possibly endanger an entire galaxy? Marith of the Kelphi Alliance, seated beside him, gave a measured nod, though her opalescent skin shifted from blue to a faint orange, signaling caution. Yet, the Drazid had presented compelling evidence. She countered softly. We cannot ignore what General Kralon has shown us. Humans might be primitive by our standards, but their potential for resilience, adaptability, and even aggression is unmatched. A voice from across the room, stern and resonant, added to the growing debate. Counselor Vale, the representative of the Seraphist Dominion, a tall, ethereal being with radiant golden skin, raised his hand to speak. We must consider that humanity's path has been forged through conflict. They have adapted to a brutal world through sheer willpower. They are not like any other species we've encountered, nor are they predictable. Do we really want to take that risk? Orshin scoffed. Are you suggesting that we should preemptively act against them? That seems excessive, even absurd. Humanity is isolated, unable to breach their own atmosphere with any true consistency. They lack the resources to harm anyone beyond their immediate reach. Counselor Vale's golden gaze was unyielding. Perhaps, Orshin, but they are learning quickly. You saw the images, the records. We know that humans are driven to overcome any obstacle. It would be foolish to assume they will remain bound to her forever. The Kelpie representative leaned forward, her voice steady. What Vale suggests is logical. Humans have proven they will adapt to survive any challenge. But what happens when their gaze inevitably turns outward? When they see not merely worlds to explore, but obstacles to conquer? Their history reveals a people who have turned every hardship into a weapon. It is only a matter of time before they bring that approach to the stars. Orshin shifted uneasily, his skepticism eroding as the debate continued. A murmur spread through the chamber, whispers of cautious agreement and deepening doubt. Some representatives looked visibly uncomfortable, considering the idea that a species so isolated could grow to rival or even surpass established civilizations. Yet the evidence from the Drazeth was hard to dispute. The council chamber grew quiet as another figure rose. Lothar, a seasoned counselor from the Galactic Intelligence Collective, stepped forward. His presence alone commanded attention. The collective was known for its comprehensive network of spies and information-gathering units. If anyone understood the full scope of humanity's capabilities, it was him. Counselors, Lothar began, his voice even but laced with tension. Our intelligence on humanity may seem limited, but recent years have shown an unsettling trend. Their technological growth has been exponential. They have developed weaponry capable of leveling entire cities, medical advancements that extend their lives, and communication systems that connect them across their world with ease. Their progress, even under extreme adversity, is extraordinary. Vale leaned forward, his expression fierce. Then are we truly considering action, counselors? Are we prepared to sanction measures against humanity? A tremor of unease rippled through the council. Preemptive action was not a decision made lightly. Such choices had only been taken against species that posed undeniable threats to the galactic order. But the Drazeth's warning loomed, casting an ominous shadow over their deliberations. Orshin spoke again, his voice filled with reluctant resignation. Then what would our options be? Lothar's eyes met those of each counselor, his gaze sharp. We could monitor them more closely, establish restrictions to hinder their technological development, or even designate Earth as a protected sector, isolating them indefinitely. But wouldn't that interfere with their natural progress? Marith interjected. To suppress them now could make them resentful. If they discover our interference, we might create the very threat we seek to prevent. A silence settled as counselors absorbed the complexity of their predicament. To act might invite danger. To ignore the warning might leave them vulnerable to an unforeseen menace. No option felt right. Finally, the council chair, an aged being of the Mistari, whose deep violet eyes reflected centuries of wisdom, spoke. Counselors, we cannot reach a decision based on fear alone, but neither can we ignore the concerns raised today. I propose a motion. We conduct further observation, tasking a dedicated team to monitor humanity's technological growth, cultural developments, and potential expansion. The murmurs grew louder, many counselors nodding in agreement. The chair continued. Let us assess their evolution, but intervene only if their actions begin to encroach beyond their world. This way, we prepare ourselves without unnecessary hostility. Relief and caution mingled in the expressions around the chamber. It was a compromise that provided a cautious path forward without immediate aggression. The Kelpie representative spoke, her voice carrying a note of finality. If humanity does indeed possess the strength Krallon believes they do, then we must be ready. Perhaps even prepared to welcome them as allies, should they choose peace over conquest. As the chair called for a vote, each counselor weighed the burden of this decision. The plan was simple. Monitor, prepare, and stand ready, waiting to see if humanity would emerge as a friend or a foe. The decision made, the council rose, a collective exhale passing through the room as they dispersed, the weight of their choice pressing heavily on each mind. Yet, as the council doors closed behind them, a feeling of unfinished tension lingered. They had chosen caution for now, but deep within, each member knew that Earth and its people were still an unknown force, waiting just beyond the stars. Months passed, and the Galactic Council's resolution to monitor Earth quietly continued. Deep within the Council's intelligence network, select agents were stationed to observe humanity, gathering data on their advancements, culture, and adaptability. What began as casual surveillance soon evolved into a high-priority mission as intelligence reports continued to reveal startling insights. Counselor Lothar, tasked with overseeing the operation, spent countless hours poring over data collected from Earth. Each report painted a picture that both intrigued and unsettled him. Humanity was advancing, fast, and with unprecedented determination. Images and video feeds showed humans testing new forms of energy, developing weaponry capable of immense power, and embarking on space exploration initiatives with an almost fanatical drive. Late one evening in the intelligence sector, Lothar summoned Counselor Vale and Mara to review the latest findings. As the holographic footage displayed humans launching their latest Mars rover, Martha's expression shifted to one of disbelief. "Do you see?" Lothar's tone was edged with awe. "They are not just surviving, they are evolving. Every challenge we've observed, they meet with grit and ingenuity. The humans do not know we're watching, yet they behave as though they have something to prove, as if they are driven by an urgency we don't yet understand." Vale folded his arms, his golden skin catching the light of the holofeed as he watched the Mars launch replay. What compels them to press forward with such fervor? Is it ambition? Fear? Perhaps some innate urge to conquer? Mars shook her head, her gaze contemplative. "No, I believe it is their need for resilience. Humanity has thrived in a hostile environment for millennia. To them, progression is survival. Each advancement, each victory over nature reaffirms their place in their own world. They are preparing for a future beyond Earth, one they are determined to claim regardless of what stands in their way." Lothar nodded, an uncharacteristic respect in his eyes. "They are indeed remarkable, but this drive makes them unpredictable. If we are not prepared, we may not control the nature of our first true encounter with humanity." As the trio discussed humanity's rapid progression, a new alert sounded, drawing their attention. A live feed appeared on the screen, capturing the aftermath of a volcanic eruption on Earth. The humans' response was as impressive as it was swift. Scientists and engineers coordinated remotely to redirect rivers of lava away from populated areas. Drones and rescue teams moved as one, saving thousands of lives in an extraordinary display of technological and logistical mastery. Martha's eyes widened. Their cooperation under pressure is incredible. They've managed to turn disaster into an opportunity to showcase their resilience and adaptability. Vale studied the scene, his earlier skepticism softening into quiet admiration. Perhaps we have underestimated their potential. Humans do not only survive, they thrive, regardless of the odds. Lothar's expression turned somber as he looked at his fellow counselors. And that, my friends, is precisely what makes them so dangerous and so vital to understand. A species capable of transforming adversity into strength is not merely a potential threat. They could also be a powerful ally. If we extend a hand to guide them, they may choose cooperation over conflict. The weight of Lothar's words settled over them. Vale, typically cautious and distrustful, now saw an opportunity where he had previously only seen risk. So you're suggesting that we consider humanity not as an adversary, but as a partner? Lothar nodded. Yes, humanity's strength lies not just in their weapons or technology, but in their will to survive and evolve. We could harness that strength, perhaps even guide it. A silence followed as each counselor pondered the possibilities. The idea was radical. The Galactic Council rarely welcomed new species as equals, yet humanity's potential was undeniable. They were already overcoming the limitations of their own planet, reaching beyond Earth's atmosphere with only the resources at hand. Finally, Mars spoke, her voice resolute. We must prepare a directive for this. Humanity is too significant a force to leave unmanaged, yet they possess qualities that could benefit us all if cultivated. Perhaps the time has come to approach them not as monitors, but as mentors. The decision was momentous, and they each felt the weight of it. They would draft a new resolution, one that acknowledged humanity's potential not merely as a threat to be observed, but as a powerful force that could be guided towards constructive alliances. The Council's goal would no longer be to simply watch from afar, but to subtly engage with humanity, testing the waters for a future relationship built on mutual understanding and shared strength. As the Council meeting concluded, Lothar glanced out at the stars through the chamber's vast windows, Earth a tiny, distant speck barely visible in the void. This fragile blue planet held a force that few in the galaxy truly comprehended, a force capable of both destruction and profound resilience. It was time the Council recognized that power, acknowledging it with the same respect they reserved for the galaxy's most formidable civilizations. He knew they were embarking on a new path, one filled with uncertainty and risk, but the reward, a partnership with such a relentless species, could reshape the future of the galaxy. With this new resolution drafted, the Council would not merely monitor humanity. They would initiate first contact, offering them a place among the stars. As Lothar and his colleagues left the chamber, they could only hope that humanity would be wise enough to accept it and strong enough to uphold it.